Hello, welcome to Carbon Bubble Podcast, where we discuss climate change, climate financial risk, and the environmental economics. This is Jinsu from Korea.
Sohyun from London.
Our team and we believe that the climate change is the most dangerous and important issue in our society. So we are going to talk about the climate or environmental issue every week. So please subscribe and listen to our podcast. Uh, yeah, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jinsu Park. I recently wrote a book called Carbon Bubble in Korean. And I've been working in this field about 5 years, and I love to share my experience and knowledge in environmental sectors.
Hi, my name is Sohyun. Jinsu and I came across from the same climate change group 4 years ago. So it's very surprising and appreciate Jinsu for inviting me to run this podcast with him. And I'm currently working as an environmental consultant in London.
Yes, I have a reason to start this podcast because I do believe our economic or capital market is not that transparent, especially regarding climate risk. So I'd like to explore more about the concept of the carbon bubble. So how it related to financial risk.
Interesting. Yeah. Does it come from your background, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I study environmental economics, and I love economics. And yeah, I also like to talk about the financial things. So I think it's a good opportunity for me. How about you, Soya?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, yeah, 4 years ago when I first met Jinsu, he had a climate change economics study group. So I guess that was my first experience actually learning how the economies and climate change were related. So I'm looking forward to learn a lot from you.
I also want to learn from you, actually. It's okay. Yeah. So, do you want to say more about the podcast? I mean, do you want to discuss something more? What I want to
Um,
deliver?
For next few weeks, I've been working in the carbon market field, so I'll be excited to share my experience and expertise in the carbon market, especially voluntary carbon market.
Yes, and so from next week, every week we are going to talk about very, very different climate topics such as energy or volunteer carbon market or like TCFD, TNFD, something like that. So it could be very, very interesting to you if you have a huge interest in the economy or something about the environmental things. I hope you learn something, and actually we can just share our knowledge. You can add some comments or send email to me. I'm open to everyone. So please, let's communicate together.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want to give a brief introduction about the next episode?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exposed. I want to talk about the fundamentals of the climate change. I mean, even though a lot of people already know what is climate change and a crisis, but we want to talk about it more in scientific way, such as like I'd like to talk about why climate change causes the financial risk from fraud or drought or something like that. So next, and why climate change is real, and we will also talk about the basic science of the climate change, such as 2 Celsius degree or what is a Celsius 2 Celsius degrees or 1.5
So,
Celsius
why is
degree.
our podcast named Carbon Bubble?
Uh, the bubble is like overstated status compared to real one, right? So I do believe our economy is based on fossil fuel. So
Mm,
actually, it is already exaggerated. For example, so once we try to limit the fossil fuel, I think economic will shrink. And if we shrink too dramatically, there a lot of people will suffer by this kind of regulations or like a sudden change. So I'd like to talk about what will happen in few years or in decades.
In the near future, right?
Yes, and So-Yeon is an expert of the offset credits and the voluntary carbon market. Uh, yeah, and even though she's very humble, and I also want to learn a lot of things about the international policy and agreement from So-Yeon.
Excited to do a podcast with you.
Anyway, so this is the introduction of our podcast. So from next week, we will talk about deeply about the climate change. Okay, thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.